All right, this is hard loss porn.
Hard loss porn, baby. Hard. Give it to me hard. Loss porn. Yeah.
Well, everybody has been asking for this, Max. They want us to talk about, well, they want us to microdose our Wall Street bets.
All right. Wall Street bets. It's so phenomenal. It's so great. This is turning out to be a great week. So, Wall Street bets, it's a Reddit community. They figured out that there's a way to attack over leveraged or over leveraged, unhedged hedge funds who are short stocks, a few stocks. Right now, GameStop is a company whose stock is being subjected to this, and they're making huge amounts of money by attacking hedge funds. And this is remarkable on a number of different levels.
Well, let's start from the very beginning. For those who do not know, there is, first of all, a subreddit called Wall Street Bets. And on there, they, a few months ago, identified the fact that they could basically profit off of inadequacies in regulatory measures, but also in the markets themselves in terms of how the options markets work, in that the market maker must buy the underlying commodity, the asset, in the case of them buying puts or calls, right?
Yeah, there's a few different moving parts of this attack. First of all, there is the fact that short sellers who sell short stocks, this would be the hedge funds, they, as you point out, they take advantage of regulatory irregularities by being able to short more stock than exists in what's called the float. That is the number of shares outstanding. In the case of GameStop, I just saw a number where the number of shares sold short were something like 240% of all the shares outstanding, which would be the total number of shares beyond even the float of stock in that particular security. And of course, the reason why that's crazy is that the way you short a stock is by borrowing stock, and you sell that stock in the hopes of buying it back later at a lower price. And of course, that would be a short sale, a successful short sale. And so it stands to reason that you are limited by the number of stock that you can borrow and sell by the number of stock there is in existence, right? But this has been a loophole for many, many years, made famous, you could say, by Patrick Byrne over there at Overstock. This is going back 10, 12 years, where he went to battle with the short sellers in his company, Overstock, who are driving the stock down to single digits. And the regulation this would fit under is called Reg Show. That's SHO. And the excuse that regulators gave is that they don't really check on a day-to-day basis if there's more stock sold short than there is in existence. They do it at some deferred time, which never seems to happen. That deferral time seems to be pushed into the infinite future. And Patrick Byrne ultimately made a lot of noise about this, but nothing really changed. So what the subreddit did, Wall Street Bets, is just saying, look, this is actually a vulnerability that the hedge funds have, because if we can swarm on this with our Robinhood accounts and start buying that stock, we're going to force a short squeeze, because as the price goes up, it creates a margin call, because all short sales happen in a margin account, which means you're borrowing that stock, right? So by definition, it's a margin event. And as the price goes up, you have to add more cash to meet that margin call or sell at what could be presumably a loss. And so they triggered a short squeeze, and they've triggered a short squeeze magnificently to the upside, which is beneficial to these swarm of Robinhood traders at Wall Street Bets. And the hedge funds themselves are now suffering. One of them, Melvin, I guess, was basically bankrupted and had to go seek a bailout from Citadel, another hedge fund. So that's just part of the story, Stacy.
Right. So, first of all, I want to say, Max, can you move your like this bit of your mic away from your face so it's not covering your face too much for the audience there? I'll do it for you. I'll show you. I'll show you my ass because this is porn. This is hard loss porn. Hard loss porn. There, you see my butt. So, yeah. So one of the arguments that is always made by apologists for the system is they say there's no such thing as naked short selling of silver, for example, because for every buyer there's a seller. So obviously, if there are more shorted stocks than the entire float of the company, that means that is not actually happening. There is not a seller for every buyer of this short position because if you how can you short 240% of the float? That should be illegal, right? Regulators should be there. So they're just playing the same game. So if hedge funds get to do it, I see all the mainstream media really scared, and all they're focusing on is the Redditors. And they're saying these meme actors, these meme vigilantes, they're destroying the free markets. And you're like, no, the only reason why they're able to do this is because the hedge funds have an illegal short position. You're not doing your job. If the regulators aren't going to do their job, then we're going to do the job.
Exactly right. They are bringing regulation to the price discovery. They're bringing true price discovery into the markets that regulators were supposed to be doing, but for some reason they failed on their job, and we know that reason why they failed in the job. But they're not applying their job. And you're absolutely right. You cannot sell short more stock than there is in existence. And furthermore, when you are financing this short sale to force the stock down, you're doing so with borrowed money. And of course, rates are near zero. So the cost of staging an attack on a company like GameStop is virtually nothing because you can borrow billions at virtually no cost, sell stock naked. That is to say, you're manufacturing sell orders.
Remember, I told you this was porn. So
right?
We have to be naked here.
Right. They manufacture sell orders on stock that doesn't exist. And so when the market makers are trying to figure out what price the stock should be, they have for every buy order, they've got 10, 20, 30 sell orders. And those sell orders are printed out of thin air by hedge funds who are not regulated. And so the hedge funds get a one-way bet down to zero. This company goes out of business and they pocket a big source of cash. They never have to cover the short because the company goes out of business. That's the goal. You have to put the company out of business completely. So you never, ever have to cover that short.
So that obviously was the hope with this situation with GameStop because, I mean, it's like Blockbuster, right? I mean, it's kind of old-fashioned and, a flashback to the analog world that Max and I grew up in. But certainly these kids, messing with this on Robinhood have probably never seen the shop because they don't exist in the analog world. They probably never leave their mom's basement.
Right. So what they do is they just filter using, just going through the publicly available data.
They went through the options market, looked at the options data. And this was all triggered, by the way, by a guy called Deep Fucking Value. Deep Fucking Value for this deep loss porn today here on Microdosing R Wall Street Bets.
Deep throat. Deep fucking value. And they just find stocks that are vulnerable to this particular attack, a swarm of Robinhood traders who can manufacture a gain the same way that these hedge funds have been given license to manufacture gains by attacking companies. So that's kind of the first layer into what's going on here with this new kind of, what we call activist capitalism or activist finance. Of course, the global insurrection against banker occupation. A lot of people were saying, this is really what Occupy Wall Street should be about.
Yeah.
This is how you should have done Occupy Wall Street.
Yes. And this is what Max and I, this is the point I want to bring up, especially about deep fucking value and how deep fucking value and Wall Street Bets have taken down entire multi-billion-dollar hedge fund industry. And the fact is that this shows your mindset. The mindset. Look at silver and gold bugs. They are whiny little cuck bitches. I swear to God, look at them, how they're constantly like, oh, these are illegal naked shorts. Oh, we can't do anything about it. Why do the regulators let this happen? I feel so bad. Oh, remember I'm doing some hard loss porn here. And we offered them an out back in end of 2010. Go look at it. Google crash JP Morgan buy silver, crash JPM buy silver. And at that time, Max had the exact same thing that they are doing for GME. Exact same thing. Max identified that JP Morgan had a short position on silver that was larger than all of the available silver supply. So he said the same thing. Hey, world, guess what? I'm telling you, just like Deep Fucking Value is telling you today, I'm telling you that if you buy 1 physical ounce of silver, and at that time it was $15 for an ounce, right? Buy 1 ounce of silver, there's 6.5, 7 billion people on Earth. If all of us buy 1 ounce of silver, JP Morgan is dead. Okay? This is war. This is absolute destruction. This is what the subreddit Wall Street Bets is saying when they wrote that letter to CNBC, and they're saying, this isn't about our profits. Yes, we're all up, but we want this industry destroyed. And that's what we were saying back then. If you want to end this market rigging, if these precious metals investors at that time who were, buying precious metals for the same reason that Bitcoiners buy Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin, is because they're against all of this fraudulent system. They're against the fiat system. They're against the central banks. If you want to take them down, this is the way to do it. And you still get whiny little bitches who say, well, I want $100 silver. Where's my $100 silver? And you're like, bitch, you forced JP Morgan to their fucking knees. They had to drop on their knees and beg us to stop the campaign by basically doing exactly what Melvin had to do. Melvin had to close their short position at a huge loss to them. Same thing happened to JP Morgan. They had to close their silver position because we forced them to. We forced them to buy silver back on the market. JP Morgan is the one that drove the price to $50 because they had to close those positions. That was a short squeeze. And still, like, this whiny little mentality is like, this is why I have the orange shoe. I kick those people out of the room because I don't want loser mentality. You got to be a winner. And these guys at WSB are winners.
Right. And the thing about crash JP Morgan buy silver, right? It was started at $15. The price got to 50. And JP Morgan started putting out some press releases that were carried by the Financial Times and others that there's an activist group. They're pushing us around. We are short silver. And that the alarm bells went off. So at that point, it would have been then the intention of the global silver liberation army, as it was known, to triple down and quadruple down and buy more ounces of silver, get the price to $100, $200, $300 an ounce, and JP Morgan would have been put completely out of business.
Exactly.
But what happened at $50 is that they broke ranks. So a lot of people took profits and they said, I'm not really here for the revolution. I just want to make a quick buck.
Yes.
So they sold out and silver quickly went back to $15. And, but the Wall Street Bets people are totally focused. They're not, they're here for the revolution.
They're on to their next target.
Right.
Exactly like Karma Bank. As Karma Bank meets crash JP Morgan buy silver.
Right.
So you put those two together is like, with Karma Bank, where Max identified that price earnings multiple meets a boycott of the activist community, because he was talking about Occupy Wall Street, but before that, the Battle of Seattle, right? So, all these activists were going out in the street and getting their heads bashed in by, robocops. And he's like, well, why don't you just sit at home and use the markets to take down these companies you say you're against instead of using a middleman, instead of like Occupy Wall Street going out, please, regulators, stop these banks. Stop these banks. It's like,
you can stop the banks.
You can stop it with, these guys using Robinhood and Reddit. It's not like they're multi-billionaires living in Connecticut.
No, it's the value of the swarm. So it's millions and millions of people with not a lot of money, but combined, it's a huge amount of money. And if they target the companies, the most vulnerable companies, then they leverage what they do have by 10x, and they have what's going on now, which is the total madness going on, and these hedge funds are getting beaten up.
It's funny.
Yeah,
they're
CNBC
the whiny little bitches now.
All crazy. So with crash JP Morgan buy silver, what also happened was that J.P. Morgan. Well, first of all, they fired Blythe Masters, who was
Yeah.
the architect of their silver desk and commodity desk. She invented credit default swaps. She went over to London with her tail between her legs, so she was ousted. The company J.P. Morgan had to appeal to the CFTC to get their position limits increased so they could increase their fraudulent short sales. So that put pressure on the price. And the second they were able to manufacture a downtick or two, and it went from 50 to 45, then suddenly people panic sold and they dumped, and the bad guys won that particular day. But that lesson, I think, was learned. So now we are in 2021. And
this is like the war between the dying Roman Empire and the hordes of barbarians. There were several tribes. They were easily able to be picked off individually by Caesar's armies. But when they united, of course, then the people of Rome welcomed in the barbarians because, it was a corrupt, decadent, ruling class at that time who were not responsive to the needs of the people. They fed them bread and circuses for a while, but then that disappeared. And so Max was saying, like, he gave this idea of Wall Street Bets, and the whiny little babies of precious metals weren't up for the task. They weren't. No. They ran away. They were scared. They begged Caesar to please, like, just let them have some fiat gains. They want to be part of that system. They want to eventually. They're like Alan Greenspan. Alan Greenspan was a gold bug who, like, please let me be a regulator. Please let me be a master of this fiat universe. Yeah. That's the mentality. You gotta focus on the mentality. And before Max says something right now, I want you to say, go smash that freaking like button right now, because if you don't, this is going to get hardcore for real.
I can't. Is that an incentive not to, or is that?
Yeah, because I'm going to have Max show you his private seeds. I know you want. On one hand, you might want it, but where they're tattooed.
Okay. Well, this has gone weird, fast, but
now, smash that like. We got it to 192. We got it to 192.
Yeah.
And okay, there you go. See, people are cool. Like our army. Our army of barbarians are fearless. And that's what you've got to be, because there's no reason to fear.
The spirit of Boudica.
There's no reason to fear. Like, for real. I'm saying,
you're
like,
the Boudica of crypto.
I'm the Boudica of
the
crypto.
Bitcoin.
Don't say crypto. The Boudica of Bitcoin.
The reason I said that nasty word, the C word, is because I was looking at Wall Street Bets, and they were, discussing about, gosh, you should hook up with the Bitcoin community because they're, like, on the same page. And the Wall Street Bets people are saying, no, we don't actually like Bitcoin and crypto because they're not focused enough. They always devolve into shitcoinery. And they would, like, put a little link to, like, we don't want the link army. We don't want the Doge people. We don't want the shitcoiners. And there's no cohesion. There's no coherence or cohesion in the Bitcoin / altcoin market.
There's cohesion in Bitcoin. Go to Toxic Bitcoin Twitter, or go to bitcoinhackers.org.
But it attracts shitcoiners.
Yeah, shitcoiners.
And that's the problem. Who wants to deal with that? That's why on our Telegram group, there's a no shitcoin policy, and they get the boot right away because it's a slippery slope. They come in, then suddenly it's a flock of shitcoins.
Well, you saw that with Dave from Dave Portnoy from Barstool. You saw it with Joe Rogan. As soon as they both went like this, they said, "Hey, explain to me this Bitcoin." Now go back and look at their Twitter handles when this happened. An avalanche of shit was thrown at them. Right. All the fucking monkeys of the altcoin space. Throwing their bags at them. Like, here's my poop.
And that's totally unfocused.
Look at my poop.
You can never win that way because it's too splintered amongst 8,000 campaigns, altcoins. And the Wall Street Bets people are saying, no, we focus at one or two at a time. And that's how we win, right? So they are openly mocking the shitcoin community, as they should, as we do. And
that's why our relentless optimism is only possible with relentless orange sparkly shoe, because we got to throw those people out because they come in to demoralize you. Just like I'm saying, like with our whole crash JP Morgan buy silver campaign, it was, we were leading these troops, and all you have are actual shitcoiners in there, because what they wanted was fiat profit. That's what they wanted. They didn't want to take down the system. Yeah. They wanted to just be like Bernie Madoff's investors. They knew his returns were not normal. but they thought they were benefiting from his fraud, but they were losing. They were the chumps at the table. So
Yeah.
all those people who were whiny shitcoiners, and that includes the gold bugs who actually really in truth just want some fiat profit rather than an end
Yeah.
to the central
Well,
banking
talking
system.
about Karma Bank. So I created Karma Bank with Stacy really almost 13, 14 years ago. And this was the idea of
Max,
leveraging.
it was longer than that ago because
Yeah.
we've been together for 18
All
years.
right. So 22 years ago. And the idea was to leverage boycotts in a way that would attract hedge funds to sell companies short and to do it in a very targeted way. And so we were working on this really hard for a year or so. And we would go to hedge funds and they would say, okay, cool. Bring me the
Yes.
boycott and I'm happy to sell the stock short. And you take the profits and you roll it into making the boycott bigger. And we're going to move billions of dollars from corporations to activists, and we can do it using the markets. The problem was that the activists weren't interested, like going to Greenpeace, and the head of Greenpeace, Gerd Leopold at the time, he told me, and right in a meeting, that the Greenpeace would never do it because they rely on the $5 donation on the street. And if it appeared that they were doing something that was financial in some way that people couldn't understand right away, other than just giving $5 on the street level into a bucket, that they would lose their source of funding. So,
They all want to be in a think tank. They
yeah.
all want to be in Biden's administration. This is what a
And then
lot of
Greenpeace
people
had
actually,
100 million euros in the bank at the time. And I
yeah.
said, by the way, do you know that the bank that you deposit that money with lends it out to Exxon, the person that you say you're against? Actually, so if you didn't do it at nothing at all, there would be less money for Exxon to borrow from the bank that you just deposited. You would be net better off for the environmental movement if you did nothing and just shut up. Right. But they're like, economics and activism have never worked ever because the activists are too stupid. But until today, Wall Street Bets is an activist group, and they are shutting down the predatory workings of the folks that we've been talking about now for 20 years.
Right. And, again, it's all about your mental attitude because the whether it was the Roman Empire or the Vatican or the French, monarchy, it's the only reason that you are their slave and their subjects is because you believe it, that you give them that power. So Wall Street Bets, what they've done is exposed the financial system, the stock markets for what they are now. It's a casino gulag, as Max has pointed out years ago. They've exposed the fundamental predatory nature of it. And that is amazing. Bitcoin has done the same thing to the central banks and the monetary system. It's exposed, it's just revealed what was there if you cared to look, if you cared to be fearless, if you cared to believe in yourself and the community of other barbarians in the Orange Pill podcast Telegram group, for example. Like, we can take down, just like Spartacus, if you're a gladiator can take down an emperor, and so can we. Like,
there's a few antecedents to this. So crash JP Morgan, buy silver was definitely an antecedent. Then Karma Bank definitely set the stage for this.
Yeah.
The tipping point was the Robinhood app and the availability of the stock trading for cheap, zero commissions and very easy to do. So that was a tipping point. That really only came into existence in the last 3-4 years. So, and that really gave this whole movement power. The other two organizations that did something similar, we got to give the tip of the hat to them, would be the Earth Liberation Front and the Animal Liberation Front. They also were targeting a company's balance sheet and ability to raise money in the bond market by pointing out to institutional investors the risks associated with the activities that they felt were antisocial.
But they fucked themselves because they obviously use violence. And nobody in the Bitcoin space believes in that, right?
No.
This is where, we believe in the natural law, and violence is always against natural law. So it's unless it's defensive. Now,
it didn't work. So
they set themselves up for a trap. Like, that's the art of war, is you don't break those laws like that. You use the laws against them. You use the system against them.
Also, Occupy Wall Street was another major precursor to what we just saw.
Yeah, but they chickened out. Like I said, like at the end of the day, if all the warriors in your army are afraid of death, even if it's social media death or this is what the authoritarians in power right now are doing, right? They're trying to demonetize and deplatform and chase anybody who resists the system into their workspace, right? That you'll never be, we will starve you to death, right? Like, we're not going to say you can't, we're not going to throw you in jail or repress you or oppress you. We're just going to stop anybody from hiring. We're going to starve you to death. We're going to attack you.
Right.
So you have to be, strong enough to resist that. And this is part of what the authoritarian establishment is now going after. They're going after these anonymous meme artists on Reddit and things like that. They're trying to fabricate arbitrary despotism, as we've talked about. They're trying to fabricate new laws against something that is legal.
Right. TD Ameritrade just came out, and they are shutting down trading in these particular stocks.
Yes.
So they're closing the market to those particular stocks.
Like that, how arbitrary, right?
Are totally arbitrary, because the amount of fraud that goes on every single day, as we've been reporting on for nearly 20 years, is excessive. And there's never been any of these trading operations shutting down trading in any of these stocks, not even Hertz, which was bankrupt. There was still trading going on with hedge funds who were profiting from a bankrupt company. When it rolled over, that should have been halted on all these different exchanges. They never did it, right?
Yeah.
But because this particular group of folks is not a friend of Goldman Sachs, they've just selectively and arbitrarily decided to shut trading in these particular things. The difference with now between Karma Bank, Crash JP Morgan, and all these other programs, Occupy Wall Street, is that really tools now exist that didn't exist before. It's the old famous sign that was given by the English to the French, that we beat you with our two fingers, talking about the long bow that they had beaten the French during some war, during the 100-Year War, the War of the Roses or something. And so
War of the Roses.
It was technology, suddenly the tools of, whether it's encryption, which got into the public's hands and changed everything, and this type of Robinhood trading, the tools are in the hands of the folks that en masse can reassert their rights. And this is an activist, rights-seeking group, and they position themselves in that way. They say, look, we're not in this for the profits, although we are making lots of money. We're in this because we fucking hate CNBC's duplicity. We hate the corruption in the system. The same reason that the Bitcoin white Genesis block says, Chancellor on brink of second bailout. It's a political act. I hope the Bitcoiners learn from what's going on with Wall Street Bets and the exchanges that still list shitcoins. Like even Kraken, as an exchange that I'm an investor in, still has Bitcoin Satoshi Vision and Bitcoin.
No, they got rid of BSV earlier. They were the first. Yeah.
All right. All right. I retract that statement. But any of these other exchanges that have these coins, really, they're not doing anybody any favors in terms of this industry going forward.
Right. Again, study the asymmetric bets happening here. The vulnerability of the system as it is, they showed you. Okay. Look at what happened 2008, 2009, 2010. The entire Wall Street industry, all of those elite, all of the friends of Biden, all of the friends of Obama, all the friends of Bush, all the friends of Trump, none of those people could take a haircut of even 1%. Wall Street Bets, in their letter to CNBC upon the propaganda network for those Wall Street people, the letter to them established, we have nothing to lose. I will go back to Walmart giving blowjobs behind the dumpster. I don't care. I just want you dead. I want Wall Street dead. And that's a powerful position to be in. The same thing happened in ancient Rome. All those senators were fabulously wealthy and plundering the people and plundering, people all over the world, just like invading their country, stealing their gold and silver, and like, hey, we're the superpower. You have to give us your money. Well, then the barbarians were like, well, we live in the freaking mud, right? What are you going to take, our straw huts? Like, we don't care. So the wealthy and the elite, the corrupt are so corrupt that it leaves them very vulnerable to the slightest disruption to their system that sustains, that must, the system of plunder that has to be continuously plundered in order to feed them leaves them very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Smash that like, smash that like, smash that like.
Yeah, so true. And so well, let me ask you that, we're really just a couple of days into this. It's been building for a couple of months, then
Yeah.
it burst onto the scene really this week. So where do you think we are with this a week, 2 weeks, a month from now?
Well, you're going to hear them called white supremacists, alt-right, all these sort of things that, the Rachel Maddows and the Anderson Coopers, support the elite, the Biden administration, the Bush administration, the deep state. Speaking of deep fucking value is up against the deep state here.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll have to engineer some laws, just like they're bringing in a Patriot Act 2.0. They're going to have to find some way to close out ordinary people. Maybe they'll have to shut down Robinhood. I mean, Robinhood is fantastically funny, right? Because so these Redditors, they're all small time investors for the most part. I'm sure there are some hedge fund trolls themselves lurking in there, like betting against the other one of the other 6 or 7, 15,000 hedge funds. So I'm sure you've got some smaller hedge funds in there, like only 10 million under management or something. But most of them are small time investors, right? And they go to Robinhood and trade for free. But Robinhood isn't really for free, because how they're making money is selling your data before when you press the order that you want to buy 100 GME. They tell Citadel first that you're buying this. So
Mm-hmm.
Citadel was part of this. Like Citadel helped take down these hedge funds and then came to the rescue of the hedge fund with a loan. So it's just like it's weird how that whole cycle is working. That Citadel was part of the cause of it, and in a way, I mean, it seems if the regulators were on it, like they wouldn't be able to buy up the assets of the company that they helped destroy with this move.
Right. Remember the 2008 crisis when Goldman Sachs was knowingly selling clients bags of shit, as was described in congressional testimony, and then they made short sales bets against the companies that they were selling this stuff to, knowing that their stock would suffer, having just bought what Goldman Sachs sold them. So it was fraud to the power of fraud. It was the most egregious fraud probably ever in history. Now we've got Citadel, which is playing both sides of the market. Their advisor, of course, is Ben Bernanke, former Fed
Yeah, I forgot
chairman,
about that.
who works for them and helps them in all kinds of different ways. And but the Reddit, my thought is that the Wall Street Bets Reddit community will grow in size, and so the size of the targets will increase. So these are considered to be small cap, and there's some micro cap. So you're talking about companies that are 10 to, let's say, a 1 billion to 5 billion. That's considered a very small cap company. And so I think that we're going to see is that they're going to run out of small cap companies, but they're not going to stop there. They're going to start attacking the medium-sized companies, and that's when I think the alarm bells really go off.
Right. Well, Jameson Lopp also said it well. He wrote, he tweeted, "If Wall Street Bets folks find fun in wrecking hedge funds, wait till they figure out how to wreck central banks." So, I mean, this is the thing. And I mean, on the other hand, you do have hedge funds like Scaramucci buying up Bitcoin, which is doing the same exact thing as what these Redditors are doing to central banks, right? This
Yeah.
is an asymmetric bet against central banks, and they don't have a response. They know it's going to take them down, which is why they're talking about those CBDCs as the central bank digital currencies. They're trying to mimic, like they're trying to come up with a fake gold sort of thing. Because if the barbarians had all the gold and Rome had none, right? Rome would have to come up with, fake gold. They would have to find some sort of, I forget the name of the gold that's fake that looks like gold,
Pyrite.
pyrite, right? So if that's all they have, they lose, right? And the same thing is at the moment is the central banks and treasuries are looking at all these barbarians that hold all this Bitcoin, and they're having to fabricate something that kind of looks like it to keep the faith of the other people that haven't joined the barbarians yet.
Yeah, exactly right. The central bank digital currencies are just fake Bitcoin
Yeah.
to try to stave off the inevitable. And that'll last a little bit, and then they're going to fall. They're going to crash. I just hope that the folks in the Wall Street Bets crowd eventually find Bitcoin to their liking, I think if they keep moving up the food chain to bigger and bigger targets, then they will eventually hit the central banks as the ultimate motherlode of targets. The most vulnerable target, financially speaking, in the world would be the Federal Reserve Bank in Washington, D.C., leveraged at, by some estimates, 90-1. It's literally a tinderbox full of nitroglycerin teetering on the edge of a cliff over a volcano. One freaking match thrown into that piece of shit, and you're talking about a $500 trillion nightmare.
The thing is, of course, we live in a dollar world, and it's a fictional currency that could be created without limit. So they rule that, but the art of war would suggest you go for their weaker, pick off all the
Mm-hmm.
weaker entities in that Federal Reserve System around the world. Those are the ones that are going to teeter into collapse, like the European Central Bank. As you see with the whole COVID situation, they're all
Yeah.
starting to tear. That's tearing apart the whole union of these otherwise independent countries fighting there. So like it's going to be easy once it starts to collapse. Once the system collapses, it's going to be every man for himself.
Right. As I said in the interview with Stansted and Daniela Camboni,
Stansberry Research, Daniela Camboni.
yeah, in January, my $220,000 price target for Bitcoin in 2021 is based a lot on a US dollar collapse or a fiat money collapse. So when I see something like Wall Street Bets taking shape and taking off and really changing the fabric of the markets in a fundamental way, that gives me a lot of a feeling that I'm on target here with my 2021 outlook for Bitcoin, because we're getting close now to a major financial crisis brought on by the barbarians, quote unquote, and for justifiable reasons. Really, they're absolutely in the moral high ground in what they're doing, and it's about time. And it's been 20 years in the making. As the cypherpunks eventually created Bitcoin, the investor activists like Max and Stacy, which invented the space 20 years ago, this is kind of our moment here. I mean, this is
Yeah,
2021 looks like the moment that all of our work for the past 20 years is coming to fruition.
right. I mean, you had the Gauls, you had the Visigoths, you had the Goths, you had all these
Yeah.
various tribes, and they just were relentless for hundreds of years against the Romans until eventually they won. We were like that, like we were the Gauls essentially, but and actually even living in France in 2003 when we were coming up with these ideas like Karma Bank and then Crash JP Morgan by Silver. And I want to show you actually, so here's like mainstream media, how they covered, this is the headline and first paragraph of Adweek. So Adweek presides over this whole fiat high time preference world, right? They're telling you what's good in it, what's bad in it, what you should consume, what you should waste your money on, what you should go into debt on. And here they were looking at our campaign, whereby the precious metals activists and social justice warriors were all like thinking they're losing because they're afraid of JP Morgan and they're afraid of the central bank and they're afraid of regulators, even though freaking Donald Rumsfeld and the attorney general and the head of the CIA at the time had this Washington Legal Foundation at the time,
Uh,
and they wrote so these are neocons, and this is, remember, in 2004, 2005. So the whole war on terror, really like hurrah, freedom fries, and you're either with us or against us. And our campaign of Karma Bank, and because we were targeting Coca-Cola, as we didn't say it was the worst company, we just said it was the most vulnerable company at that time. And so all these Americans like tried to turn us in, and they went to Donald Rumsfeld. They went to Richard Ashcroft. They had this firm in Washington called Washington Legal Foundation to say, like, how can we throw these two in jail? And they wrote a legal opinion saying, well, this is actually brilliant. You should rather, instead of activists trying to bleed us dry, the government dry, like let them go at us, let them do a boycott, let them take a hedge fund campaign against us.
yeah.
This is brilliant. It's genius, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's what Adweek also said about the idea. Silverbug goes viral with marketing war. Max Kaiser has become a fringe media star thanks to the web. Again, so those are the early signs. This is written in 2010, December 2010. So he's saying the web, the internet, is allowing people to unite, because at the time when we did crash JP Morgan buy silver, YouTube was also totally open, right? They weren't forcing you to watch CNN and MSNBC content that they push into your viewing, onto your page. At that time, it went viral. Like, there were thousands of people all over the world that uploaded content to YouTube of them just going to buy an ounce of silver. So it was amazing, the content there. So it went, because of the web, Max Kaiser was able to communicate to people all over the world to go buy an ounce of silver and post the video of them doing it to YouTube. And then the first paragraph reads, Max Kaiser is a man on a mission. The activist, broadcaster, and former broker wants you to buy silver, actual physical silver, and is taking to YouTube, Fox News, the Huffington Post, late night TV, and a myriad of far-flung media outlets with hopes of bringing about the crash of JP Morgan and ultimately unsettling the underpinnings of the dollar. In other words, forget those sell your gold infomercials and banner ads. Buy silver is the message.
Right. And it made big ripples, and it was really working. And the price of silver went up from 15. It was hovering around 50. And but anyway, this is what at that time was to mobilize the masses to on a very specific pressure point in the financial world, right? So J.P. Morgan had inherited from Bear Stearns this massive silver short position as a result of the 2008 financial crisis. Bear Stearns was taken off the board, and all the assets were given to Jamie Dimon, including this massive silver short position. And so they had many, many, many more millions of ounces short than there were had ever been mined in existence. So they were incredibly vulnerable to any uptick in silver. So that was like, this is a one-way bet. And so that was what was going on. And the reaction on the internet, on the YouTube, was phenomenal. We really had hundreds and hundreds of people buying silver, showing silver, their silver stashes. And well, what do we want to say? Larry Ribstein was the guy who wrote the legal opinion.
Yeah. So Washington Legal Foundation, Larry Ribstein, go look that up because it was interesting. They already basically, there's a legal justification for what Wall Street Bets is doing, right? Because they looked at exactly this system and they said that it's okay.
Right.
But that was interesting too, is, a lot of people get scared and overwhelmed by, oh my God, Jamie Dimon's a billionaire. So is Lloyd Blankfein, and they're friends with these powerful people. And they're like that elephant, right? That is born, as a little elephant, a baby elephant is tied up to the tree. And as the mama, giant, huge adult elephant could easily rip that tree out if they wanted, but they're trained to think that they're not powerful. So at that time, everybody's like, Hank Paulson, obviously a former Goldman Sachs guy, he's going to take care of all his people. He took care of Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon here had Bear Stearns. Bear Stearns, like, it looks like they're winning, right? But it left them totally, totally vulnerable to annihilation. And there was an opportunity. There was a window of opportunity. JP Morgan is, I still believe it's the largest holder of silver in the world.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, because they know it left them vulnerable once. And the fact that they still have so much silver suggests to me that we really came that close to annihilating them. And they never want that to happen again.
Right, they became the number one owner of silver in the world to cover their shorts.
Yes.
Which we forced them to do.
Yeah, and that's winning. That's like, if you're the Gauls, if you're the Visigoths, you declare, like, I beat the ass of the emperor. Like, I won that battle, and we're going to win this war.
Right. Well,
but instead, all the troops were like, we lost because where's my fiat? Where's my fiat? I want my silver to be $100. Where's my money?
Well, this is the problem with shitcoins. They diffuse the impact of Bitcoin. And like the total market cap of 900 billion for the market, 300 and something billion of that is shitcoins. And that they should get rid of all the shitcoins immediately and just roll it into Bitcoin. If the goal is to success, right? If your goal is to just be cuck and Yeah, I don't want to get
Those,
too
but
too.
those are,
Yeah.
you're never gonna, you don't even want those people on your side. I'm that 360 billion in shit coins should stay there. Like, keep over there. Hopefully you'll get a job at JP Morgan one day. Good luck, buddy. Good luck getting a job at the Fed. That's where you belong. That's where they're gonna go. But they're in a dying system. They don't realize, like, that whole fiat system is dead, and shit coins are part of the fiat system. So you don't want them in your army, because as soon as the emperor comes at you, they're going to be the barbarians that are like, "Hey Caesar, I'll help you. I'll help you get the Visigoths, just as long as you leave the Gauls alone."
Yeah.
Like, you want somebody that's going to be like, "Fuck you, I'd rather go give blowjobs behind Walmart." That's like American Hodl. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going down with this ship. I don't care. I'm not gonna pray to your fiat gods."
Yeah, exactly. So, well, anyway, all these different events over the last 20 years have led to what I think is a pretty important week in the battle against the fiat empire. And so this is kind of exciting. Bitcoin is every week, every year during Davos, I've noticed Bitcoin
Yeah.
is soft in terms of the price, because you've got all these people in Switzerland bashing Bitcoin for a few days, and that scares people. So as soon as Davos, the last day of Davos is over, then the price will probably jump $5,000.
Right. I'm going to talk about Davos, but first, go smash that like. I see we are at 588 thumbs up. Okay, 9. Come on, come on, come on. Just do it, man. Be a barbarian. Don't be scared of the Caesar. Don't be
Orange
scared.
Pill Pod
Yeah.
Cast, I just got something in the mail that says we're #1 for news and commentary in 10 different countries.
Yeah, including Portugal. We've got a lot of Portuguese people and people just living in Portugal, because Portugal is friendly to Bitcoin. 0% tax.
Yeah, let me
Lots
look
of
at that.
Bitcoiners moving there.
I'm going to look
Tell
at that.
tell us all the zones, the areas of the world where I know Singapore. We're also #1 for news and commentary on Apple Podcasts. Apparently, we got some email. It could be just like,
Yeah, we got a random email, so I'm quoting it as
And we're-
gospel truth right now.
Yeah, it's gospel truth. This is like, well, this is the propaganda that you take down. Like, if you're going up against the emperor, like our Wall Street Bets is doing, you got to have propaganda too, right? You've got to have which is a story, a narrative. You need a good narrative.
Right. This says Orange Pill Podcast, good performance in Apple Podcast ranking the last 30 days. So in the category of news and commentary, it's #1 in Portugal, Spain, Ecuador, Luxembourg, Cyprus, Malaysia, Ukraine, Slovakia, Singapore, and Jordan.
Yeah!
Yeah!
Great places, man.
That's awesome.
Actually, I want to go to Jordan. We're going to be given a tour by Safe Dina Moose when we go there eventually. Yeah. Now, most people don't realize, is just like an amazing tour guide, actually, because he showed us Beirut.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we hadn't met him and he hadn't taken us around to these amazing restaurants and stuff, like, I don't know if our memory of Beirut would have been so magical if it weren't for him.
Exactly. That was an awesome tour Safe Dean gave us, and Beirut's an amazing city. It's just an incredible city at that time. And of course, we used to be traveling all the time, really.
Yeah.
I'd say 26, 27 weeks of the year, we'd be traveling all over the world. And, but under the COVID situation, we've been here really for 10 months, and it's been equally enjoyable.
Hey, people are so happy that we mentioned Ecuador. There's people from Ecuador in the house. Somebody in our group, Kraser Ejev Nitzram said I have a nice ass, because when I got up to fix,
shit, but that's enough out of you, Frablum Kleemlum. Look, Frablum Kleemlum, we've heard enough out of you. I think we need to shut it down. Shut it down right now, Frablum Kleemlum.
This is that's what I'm saying about hubris and the vulnerabilities of the powerful, the elite, the Caesars, the ruling class is always vulnerable because of things like the fact that we're American and we can't freaking pronounce anybody's name because we only know English. Whereas, you go travel around the world, Turkey, Belgium, Morocco, anywhere, and like they're like, what? They'll speak fluent English to you, fluent French, fluent Arabic. They're like speak all these languages, and
True.
that just leaves them so much. I think it's just such an anti fragility where we're actually more fragile because like we can only speak this one language.
Well, it's a form of stupidity to only speak one language, because when you speak a different language, the whole architecture of your mind is changes, and you have a different. It's like being two different people in
Yeah,
terms
well,
of the
definitely
relationship to self.
when you speak French and you're pretty good at French,
Yeah.
you are different. You seem different. You seem high pitched, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, the French mind is very, very different, and and you feel it's in the language. It's definitely in the language. It's true of any language, and so to be in a foreign country and to listen to a different language or to speak that different language, you are in your mind is being architected in different ways. The synapses are connected in different ways. Your thoughts are organized in different ways. The emphasis on certain things are different ways. So in the U.S., people, the way they think, it's in a very American centric way. But because there is very few people in America that do know a second language, you have this monocultural stasis where folks are intolerant of any ideas, less because they're bigots, but more because structurally their minds are not particularly adept at handling uh, abstraction. So you have a very adult-like monocultural low hum of mediocrity that permeates the culture.
yeah,
And in one case, it's easy because a company like the Ford Motor Company can stamp out bland cars, and Starbucks can stamp out bland coffee, and McDonald's can stamp out bland hamburgers, and it's for that mediocre beige society, and they can scale and make gazillions of dollars. But on the other hand, it does deprive the individual of a certain fertility of thought that is para pursue with having a enjoyable life.
yeah.
Da 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 da.
Go smash that like button, please, for that amazing poetic rendition of
Yeah.
my travels with Max Kaiser.
Anytime I can say para pursue, I'm happy.
And that's the thing as well, as Americans famously have no passports. Though that's kind of improved with the millennial and G
Jesus.
Generation G, Generation Z. But when you travel and you realize like almost all of the world sees America through its cable news and all the think tankers and the neocons forcing this very narrow American mindset and our specific views, and all of these people can only speak English that are determining what happens in the rest of the world. Like they have their Russia expert who can't speak Russian. They have their Arabic expert who can't speak Arabic. They have their Iran is the worst. Like they have all these people talking about Iran, and not one of them can speak Persian or Farsi, whatever. So even I like can't even say the right word. So you wonder like when you travel and when you go to Morocco and then you say, oh, well, I could see their culture is very different from our own. But then you go to Qatar and you're like, well, this is also like in the American mind, all Muslim nations are the same. And you're like, well, Qatar is like radically different from Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to Thailand and you see they're supremely different from any American. Nothing looks the same. None of the people act the same. They don't
Even
talk
the
the same.
air is completely different there.
All that spices, the hot spices in the
Mm.
air. Russia, same thing. You go there and it's nothing at all like what the news presents it as. So, like the first time we went to Qatar was 2005, right during all the Iraq invasion and blah blah blah, and these people hate us for our freedoms, sort of thing, and totally different from what the news had said. You go to Russia, totally different from what the news says, because there's all these like pontificators delivering with such certainty and assertion.
Right, and they take advantage of the fact that you are somewhat simplistic in the architecture of your thinking, and that it's easy to propagandize average American. Where it's more difficult to propagandize other countries because they do know multiple languages, and there
Yes.
is a lot more agility of thought, and it's easier to refute uh, foreign body of thought that are being pushed into your mind, because you can switch and look at it and say, wait, let me think about this in a French mindset or a Spanish mindset or an Asian mindset. Does it really look the same? Am I really buying this propaganda? And
Plus, Americans have a very, very, very extremely short memory, right? Because everything is memory hold here, and it's constantly propagandized that we're, this essential nation, right? Like we are the
indispensable.
indispensable people. And then you're like, well, you're sitting there watching in Ecuador, you're sitting there watching in Central America, and you're like, didn't those CIA goons like eradicate my family? Like, I
Mm.
don't think you guys are so great. Like, I've seen you do bad shit. Like, there's so much of our history that just doesn't get taught. And now we're battling with that. Like, we're trying to rewrite history in this like weird, deranged sort of totalitarian way at the moment. And
Yeah.
I think that's part of that is because of this weird propaganda about our foreign policy
Mm-hmm.
and our domestic, like all the fact like that we had the little issue of genocide and slavery
Mm.
was written out of our history for a long time, our memory hold.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny because the justification for invasion is always like they treat women poorly in that country, so we're going to invade. Totally overlooking the entire history of the United States.
Yeah, and but I think every country and territory should be visited,
Yeah, definitely.
and we should invite like that, like shutting off whole nations like Venezuela or Cuba or Iran from the cultural and financial grid. Like there should be interchange and dialogue and conversation
Well,
and
yeah.
interchange. Like that's better.
Yeah, what's happening to this millennial generation is that they are becoming individually sovereign with Bitcoin, and they're ready to opt out of the U.S. propaganda, and they're ready to become global citizens
Yeah,
of the
they are more
globalized.
global.
They're totally global because Bitcoin is a tier one currency, tier one money, and so they will escape the tyranny of American mediocrity.
Oh, wow. There's some crazy stuff going on in the Orange Pill Podcast
What?
Telegram group. There's, there's a
What?
weird gif of you.
Let me see this weird GIF. What's going on? Am I dancing in the park?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that day. Oh, yeah, those are my Kurt Cobain glasses. Some days I feel like I'm in Nirvana.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I wore this hoodie. I see Rick Stoner in there. Like, one of my favorite GIFs is that woman in the gray hoodie doing the, the
Oh,
peace symbol.
yeah,
Like,
she's
I
on
want to,
some sports arena.
yeah. Oh, I don't have, give me some orange glasses or
Oh,
colored
right.
glasses
Yeah,
if you have
color
it.
glasses. Okay. How about these pink ones? These
Yeah.
purple, violet
How
ones.
about this? Like, how about this for a GIF?
Yeah, how about this? Go for the Jiffy
All right.
GIF.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks suitably nonplussed. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's Stacy at the stadium not giving a fuck. That's right. That's right.
Hey, Janet Yellen. Hey, J Pal. That's fine. Hey, wait, there should be like 1,000 more likes
What?
for
How
that.
many are
What the
there?
frick? Like,
What?
not even like 2.
What?
This is just like no
This
appreciation.
audience
No
is
appreciation.
asleep, man.
I'm Boudica of Bitcoin and I get no likes.
Jesus.
I abandoned you. I'm going to renounce you and join Caesar.
No.
No. Anyway, I'm going to read some comments and see if there's anything worth commenting on or
okay.
discussing from the people, our team, our warriors.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in this battle together. I bought some Bitcoin at 29,700. I got some on swanbitcoin.com.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we have a new URL, swanbitcoin.com/orange pill. Isn't that so much easier?
Yes, orange pill. It's swanbitcoin.com/orange pill. Get your Bitcoin at Swan. It's the cheapest and the easiest in the
Somebody's saying,
world.
"Oh, they smash bought at 10,000." That was a long time ago. Unless you got, I remember there was August of 2017,
Yeah.
and that was still like still kind of early days of Bitcoin going like big and global. It was the early days of that crazy year going from 1,000 up to 20,000, right?
Mm.
And I remember in August of 2017, it got up to 3,000, a little over 3,000. And I had a limit order in on Kraken
Mm.
for like $1,500 or 1,200. It was something like really like half the 50% drop from what the price was. And I had a limit order in. And at that time, you still had like weird, crazy crashes, flash crashes, because the liquidity wasn't as great as
Mm.
what it is now with all these huge hedge funds and stuff in it. So overnight in Asia, it got filled at a huge discount. I was like, I remember that morning going,
Yeah.
"What?"
That was exciting. I remember.
And it was already back up to like 3,500 by the time I woke up, but it got filled in under $1,500.
Insta double.
Yeah,
An
yeah.
insta double with a limit order. Shrewd. Very shrewd.
I mean, I didn't think that would possibly get filled. It was just, but back then you could do that. Like you could
Yeah.
put those, it would be the equivalent of putting in a limit order for 15,000 right now, right? Like it's
Yeah.
unlikely to get filled overnight, but
Right.
then it did.
The flash crashes, we had a lot more flash crashes. Like 50-60% crashes that last a few hours. I mean, that would happen quite frequently.
Yeah, and at that time, of course, it was over. Asia was the hugest participant in that 2017 retail bubble.
Mm.
Remember all those New York Times articles about all these young 20-somethings mortgaging their homes or borrowing 50,000 from their parents, and they were buying. So you had retail, which panics and FOMOs harder than institutional investors, but also the exchanges. There were even more exchanges that they kept getting hacked or like disappearing with your money still. There were still some of those sort of exchanges around.
That's right. A lot of wonky, dodgy exchanges. We're in the risk reward ratio for Bitcoin now is probably the best it's ever been. Because of the industry's been built out so much. And so you're risking not so much really on the downside for an incredible move on the upside. So the risk reward ratio for Bitcoin is actually better here at 30,000 than it was at $300.
I should probably, look at the price, make sure it's not like 20,000 right now.
Yeah, we better. All this talk of flash crashes has me reliving a bad dream. Like, oh my God, not a flash crash.
No, that's $30,025.
Right, it's
down.
the Davos effect. They go up there in the Switzerland, they pay $25,000 for a hooker, then they bash Bitcoin around some martinis.
It's all virtual this year, though.
Oh, they got virtual hookers for $25. They come in there and they, and it's all, then it's over. They get in their jets, they fly back to their compound somewhere, and the price bounces back up again, right? It's the Dava. I see Michael Saylor's doing his event for MicroStrategy first week of February. I think next year he should schedule it so that it's running at the exact same time as Davos. So it becomes the anti-Davos.
Yeah, we need an anti-Davos, with the whole Bitcoin thing. It's just taunt them. This is the fact. Like, you guys, it could be called Lost Porn. Conference.
Yeah, it could be called the Lost Porn Conference.
Yeah,
that's right. It could be called Lost Porn, and it's the anti-Davos. And in this conference, the hookers pay you. That's how radical this conference is. What could be better? And right, what month are we in anyway? January still?
January. Remember, we just had your birthday. Let me look at. I think, how long have we been going? I don't want to overdo our microdose, because that's the thing about a microdose. We're supposed to be like a small little taster. Well, it's coming on Sunday. Sunday, by the way, the full dose is with Simon Dixon this week, and we know we're going to ask him the most important question that I know you all want answered is, WTF is up with your set?
Where does he buy his furniture? Where does Simon Dixon get his furniture?
I mean, speaking of the Arab world, I mean, he looks like Gaddafi, right? Like that whole set.
It looks like the night of 1,000 Arabian Nights.
It looks like something out of Gaddafi. He
Yeah,
just looks a little bit like you expect a camel to start farting at any moment.
it's like over the top. You're like, what's going on? I don't want to know the story about this. He's got this huge conference table that he could definitely start a war at that table. I just see people there in like exotic costumes from different countries. Something from Austin Powers, and they're discussing launching the nuclear bombs. I mean, it's crazy. You could make a serious talk about lost porn. You could make a serious lost porn film in that house with that furniture. I'm sure that would get a lot of views. And Simon Dixon could be the perfect he'd be as like an evil mad, right?
Yeah, we might people might already be dumping in the Telegram group saying, "Hey, I actually didn't want to tell you, but your friend Simon is a big porn star."
Right, Simon the porn star. That's right. Nothing but his glasses.
I went off on farts the other day, but I do want to say that was a pretty cool power trip thing that Gaddafi did do. Like if you're gonna fart, like make sure it's a camel doing it,
right?
And at a major diplomatic event,
just a Tony Blair thing.
So Tony Blair, remember he went to Gaddafi, and Gaddafi ended up dead because of this.
Yep,
but that's most people who ever talked to Tony Blair ended up dead. But the thing is, like, Tony Blair went there to convince him to give up his WMD. And, so it was all show because, there was no WMD. They didn't have any, but Gaddafi agreed to give up their WMD and become, so Blair could show that he achieved something. But it was like in a tent outside of Tripoli. And Gaddafi, for his power play, he had a camel nearby, which was ripping off loud farts.
Cindy the camel. I think her name was Cindy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right. And he had, so, that he knew that would make Blair awkward.
Yeah, Cindy had a flatulence problem. And everybody attending the camel herd knew about it. So they put Cindy the flatulating camel into the tent with Tony Blair, who then got Gaddafi to move a lot of the money from Libya over to JP Morgan to manage. That's part of the deal. And then JP Morgan went on to lose it within 3 months.
It was actually Goldman Sachs. They lost $1 billion within 3 months.
Right.
And of course they just stole it. Right. So that's what is financing the Tony Blair Foundation, probably.
Exactly.
No, I was going to say, no, I'm only saying allegedly. I'm only joking but we're not in the UK.
Right. Who was that scientist they whacked in the woods? I forget his name.
David Kelly.
He got the Tony Blair whack job.
Yeah, well, those were the old days before Bitcoin, but now we've got Bitcoin. Yeah. So I want to say, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. Yeah. Everybody's coming back to us and saying they really love it. So, that's with the help of swanbitcoin.com. They put that together, and those guys are young. They have a lot of millennials and some Gen Z working there. So that's right. They have the energy to stay up all night, drinking too much coffee and Lord knows what else, and smoking dope and, putting together the newsletter. And they do a good job with that. Of course, we help them out as much as Generation X.
Well, we give them encouragement. Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome, dude. Awesome.
And
we're coming out with some merchandise, some t-shirts and hats and stuff. Again, Swan is helping put this together, and so subscribe to the newsletter to get updates on Orange Peel Fashion. So it's a fashion line of branded. With Geek Boy, did a brilliant job on the Orange Pill logo.
Yeah.
And so that's an exciting bit to yet to be rolled out.
That's going to be rolled out. So subscribe to this channel. You're obviously watching it, YouTube/Orange Pill. We got that. We're super happy. And make sure to hit the notification so when this live stream is going, smash that like as well. We've got 1,100 people here and only 854 likes.
What? That sounds a bit light. You need to smash that like button.
You do not belong in the Bitcoin
Where's
barbarian army.
I'm going to get my orange shoe.
Okay. Once Max comes back with the orange shoe and we could smash some likes and then kick some people out, then we will go. Until then, you're not getting. Hey, look, There's actually 1066 watching right now. That's a very important year in European history. The Norman invasion of the barbarians of the Druids, right?
Oh yeah.
1066. You see that?
1066.
See
That was
number?
a bad year for Druids.
Woo.
Very bad year for Druids. 1066.
I gotta get that out of the way.
There it is. The orange sparkly shoe.
This is going to be on our shields. This is the symbol of the Bitcoin barbarian, Bitcoin barbarian army.
We need to put a link to those on the Orange Pill Fashion site in case somebody wants to order some orange sparkly shoes.
Who wants some orange sparkly shoes?
We could get a referral link from wherever, Amazon, I suppose.
This is like Pippi Longstocking.
Mm-hmm,
she had those big shoes. Anyway.
Oh, if you do get these orange sparkly shoes on Amazon, I would let you know that the size runs a little big. And I had to get these heel wedges in the back. Otherwise, they would slip off my feet. So you should be aware. Whatever size you are normally buying shoes, get a half size smaller for this particular model of orange sparkly shoe. Okay? Take that tip from me.
And again, the message from this episode of Microdose R Wall Street Bets is that don't be like a gold or silver bug cuck, right? Don't be asking, where's my fiat? Where's my fiat? I want to convert my Bitcoin to fiat. Don't be like that, okay? This is war. This is war, man.
It's war.
Total victory
what is it good
or
for?
Death.
Total victory.
To our, our fortunes.
That sounds exciting. This is going to be an exciting week.
Because we could all just hang out behind Walmart and, perform like all sorts of acts for money should we lose.
That's right. We got a backup plan, a plan B. And I don't mean Bitcoin.
Look at this. I'm accidentally recording to our Telegram group.
Really?
Yeah.
They're getting a double dose, double microdose in each ear. Jesus, a menage a trois.
I posted it to our Telegram group.
Good job.
Wow. Anyway, it wasn't probably that funny, but it felt funny.
Sometimes that's the only thing you need. Have a funny feeling.
Right. I guess I'll hit goodbye. I'll hit the goodbye button. Remember, I figured out how to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty cool for Gen X to figure out how to use this Stream Deck.
Really good.
Keep buying, don't sell. War between God and the devil. Can I be, where's my stimulus? I want to buy more Bitcoin. She sure likes the back of Walmart.
Yikes.
The future is ours. Stacy's all Carolina now. Max is startled. Where my she at? People liked my mess up earlier when I said she at instead of I love these two peeps. Battle of Hastings. Yes, that was 1066. 1066, William the Conqueror invaded England. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Bad year for Druids.
It was a bad year for Druids.
Yeah.
But Max's family also got to become, because you were what were this? Vikings. You were there. You had invaded. Your family had invaded East Anglia a few years before.
We were there for the Stilton.
Yeah. Well, that's the other side of the country. But the fact is, you then got the Normans. William the Conqueror turned a lot of the Vikings, I believe, into the aristocracy. So over the Druids. So Max's family. That's how you became aristocrats.
Exactly. Lord Maxwell Kaiser.
There was no Kaiser. It was Lord Maxwell.
Lord Maxwell.
Right. Anyway.
My entree into the aristocracy of Europe.
So we are going to say arrivederci, hasta luego. How do you say bye in Arabic?
What would Wayne Newton say? Da 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 da.